Okay, here's a theorem. In an isosceles triangle, base angles are congruent. We're going to prove this theorem, and then we're going to use it in a couple of different places. So the first thing I want you to do is pause the video and rewrite this theorem as a conditional statement. Okay, pause it. Great. You're back. You've written it as a conditional statement. Hopefully what you've written is something along the lines of, if a triangle is isosceles, then base angles are congruent. And it's fine if you used abbreviations or did not. It doesn't matter. What I really want to make sure you have is an if and a then. Excuse me. And something about isosceles here and something about base angles here. That's the key point. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is to draw a picture of the hypothesis, marking it up appropriately. Okay, so pause the video and do that. Okay, now that you're back, hopefully you have drawn an isosceles triangle, and it should only be marked like that, and it should be labeled. I'm going to label my triangle ABC. You might want to relabel your triangle ABC just so that we have the same thing. You certainly don't have to. Okay, the next thing I would like you to do is, based on your drawing and your conditional, could you write a given and prove statement? So pause your video and try that. Okay, so if you've done that, you hopefully have given that you're that this is isosceles, or you could have had that AB is congruent to BC. That's a definition of isosceles, okay? And then what you're trying to prove then, in this case, is angle A is congruent to angle C, okay? Base angles are the angles made by the legs in the base, right? And this is the base, it's the not congruent side. Okay, so now we're gonna prove this theorem. So we're gonna do our two columns. I'm gonna run out of room, I know it. Anyway, I'm gonna give you a hint on this one, and then I'm gonna have you try it on your own. Okay, my hint is draw in an altitude as an auxiliary line. Okay, so why don't you draw in BD as an altitude? So go ahead, pause this video and see if you can prove this. Okay, so you've made an attempt at a proof, okay? Hopefully your proof starts like this, okay? You have your statements and you have your reasons in your two columns, okay? So we're going to say that BD is an altitude, and that is because we can draw that auxiliary line. An auxiliary line, right, is just simply an extra line that you can draw on that has one property. So our property is that it connects the vertex point B perpendicularly to the base, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and prove this. So before I start writing, I'm gonna make a plan, and I want angle A and angle C to be congruent, right? I'm gonna do that by proving these two triangles are congruent, okay? So the first thing I'm going to say, proving those two triangles are congruent, is that BD is congruent to BD, right? And that's the reflexive property. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that on here. I'm going to put it in a different color just so I know that's something I've proven, okay? And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, angle BDA and angle BDC are right. And that is definition of an altitude, right? They're perpendicular, they make a right angle. Which means I can then say that angle BDA, well, actually I'm not going to say that, sorry. Okay, so now I'm going to say that triangle is what I meant to say. Triangle BDA is congruent to triangle BDC. And the reason is hypotenuse leg. Okay, now as a reminder, for hypotenuse leg to work, first of all, we have to have a right triangle. right? So kind of the things that need to be satisfied. Is it a right triangle? Yep, we got right triangles because of this statement right here. Okay, the next thing is we need the hypotenuse is congruent. Is that true? Yep, and that is true actually due to the given, right? These are the hypotenuses, the sides across from the right angles. Okay, and then lastly, do we have a leg congruent? Yes, we do, and that's BD, right? The reflexive thing. Okay, great. Now that those are congruent, I can say that angle A is congruent to angle C by corresponding parts of congruent triangles being congruent. Okay, so that proves that the base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent.